What's up, guys? Christina Regine here. Today we are making carrot cake. It's always a great time to have carrot cake, but given that it is spring and Easter is coming up, I don't think there's a better time for carrot cake. And also, this recipe adapts well as a cupcake recipe, which is why you see some of my cupcakes on top of my carrot cake. So, this is just to show you that yes, this recipe works well if you want to make carrot cupcakes instead. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started with the recipe. So we're gonna get started with our dry ingredients first. So here I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to go ahead and sift it into the bowl. Now the reason why you should always sift your flour when you're baking is because you want your cake to come out nice, soft, and tender. And the best way to get that result is by sifting your flour. So this should be a basic rule of thumb. Just always sift your flour when you're making a cake. So now I am finally done sifting all of my flour. So now we can go ahead and add our leaveners. So here I am adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And now let's add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now let's add half a teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to add some flavor. So let's go ahead and put in 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon and half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. So now just go ahead and stir all the dry ingredients together, making sure that everything is well evenly distributed. And then we can go ahead and set that aside and move on to our wet ingredients. Let's go ahead and add 1 cup of vegetable oil. I'm using a spatula to scrape out my measuring cup and make sure that I get all the vegetable oil into my bowl. Now let's add our sugar. Here I have 1 cup of sugar. I always use cane sugar, but white granulated sugar works just as well. And now let's add half a cup of dark brown sugar. And the cup has to be tightly packed with the brown sugar. And now let's go ahead and combine our sugar and oil. Add 4 large eggs to the bowl and continue mixing. Now let's add our vanilla. I am adding 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Always use the pure stuff, never imitation. And then continue mixing one more time, and then after that we can go ahead and add our dry ingredients to the bowl. Don't forget to scrape down the sides of your bowl. Now that we're done with our wet ingredients, let's go ahead and add our flour mixture. So here is our flour mixture over here, and then we can go and add it. I'm just gonna add the flour in little by little. Just do not like pour in all of your flour all at once, otherwise you'll just make a huge mess and it will be much harder to stir everything in and make sure that it's all well incorporated. So now let's add our carrots. Here I have about 3.5 cups of shredded carrots, or you could use 3 cups of grated carrots. Now, I highly recommend that you go and grate or shred your carrots at home rather than buying them from the store, because store-bought shredded carrots usually tend to be a little hard and dry, and they don't bake as well in the cake. So it's better that you just shred or grate your carrots at home instead. And then as for whether you should use shredded versus grated carrots, some people use shredded, some people use grated. I personally prefer to use grated, although here I am using shredded. But the reason why I say that you should probably use grated instead is because it tends to bake a little more evenly inside of the cake. The shredded carrots will still come out fine anyway, but grated carrots just give you a more even distribution throughout the cake. So now I just got done scraping down the bowl while I was stirring in the carrots. So now I'm just going to give one more good stir to make sure that everything has been evenly incorporated. And now we're going to go ahead and prepare our baking pan. So I usually just spray a cake pan with some cooking spray. Of course, you could use like butter and parchment paper, whatever method you prefer to use for preparing your cake pans, you just go ahead and do that. This is just like the easiest way to do it for me. So then I'm just going to go ahead and add our cake batter to the pan, and then we can go ahead and bake it. At 350 degrees Fahrenheit, bake the cake for 30 to 40 minutes. And then you can go ahead and check the cake to make sure that's done by sticking a knife through the center of it. And when you pull the knife out, it should come out dry with no cake batter remaining on it. But if there is still some moisture or cake batter on it, then the cake's not done. So you just put it back in for a few more minutes, take it out, and then check it again. So here you can see that there is no cake batter left on the knife. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen up the cake from the pan so that way it will be easier to take out. So with a silicone spatula, just go around it like this. And then you want to let your cake cool off on a cooling rack and make sure that your cake has cooled off completely before you go ahead and frost it. Speaking of frosting, it is time to make ours, and we are making cream cheese frosting. So let's add 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese and 4 tablespoons or half a stick of unsalted butter. Now you want your butter and cream cheese to be at room temperature, but you also don't want them to be too soft, because when they're too soft, your frosting will come out a little bit too runny, and you don't want that. You want your frosting to have some structure to it. Well, not structure, but at least to have some consistency so it can hold up well on the cake. So here I'm just smoothing out the mixture so I can go ahead and add my vanilla extract. So let's add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and then we can go ahead and continue mixing. Let's scrape down the bowl again, and then we can go ahead and add our confectioner's sugar. Little by little, add 3 cups of powdered sugar. Mix well after each addition. Powdered sugar gets pretty messy, especially when you're mixing it. Like, it's all over my surface now. Scraping down the sides again so we can continue to mix in the rest of the powdered sugar. I think carrot cake and cream cheese frosting are a match made in heaven. Cream cheese frosting goes well on any kind of cake you put it on, but especially on carrot cake. It just needs to have cream cheese frosting on it. So now that our frosting is done, we can go ahead and frost our cake. Given that the cake has completely cooled off by now, I love frosting cakes. Like, I think it's just like such a fun and satisfying thing to do. I don't know. I mean, I am by no means a professional baker or a professional cake decorator, but you know what? Practice makes progress, and this is definitely something that I should continue to practice because I love cake decorating. I think it's really fun and beautiful. And cake decorations is probably one of my favorite things to look at. And here is our beautiful carrot cake along with some cupcakes from the same recipe on top of the carrot cake. And here is what I should mention. If you want to make this recipe into cupcakes, what you should do is just reduce the amount of time that you bake it. So yes, you can have your oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can make the batter the exact same way that I did. Just reduce the time a little bit, so you should bake the cupcakes for about 15 to 20 minutes, and check that they're done the same way that you would with a regular cake. And also, when you're filling your cupcake wells, just make sure that you fill it about 3/4 to 4/5 of the way. So that's how you should make your cupcakes. And other than that, there's really not much to change when you're adapting this recipe into cupcakes. and you can see how beautiful this decoration is. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I really hope you like this recipe. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes like this one. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. And don't forget to check out my blog, my website rather, ChristinaRegineCooks.com, where I post all of my recipes online. Thank you once again. Bye.